So, good evening and welcome to our V8 pre-World Final interviews. We're nearing this year's World Final at the Odsal Stadium at Bradford, and joining me tonight I have Guy Jolly and I have Tom Spencer. Both have gained points to earn their place on the all-important World Final grid on row, excuse me, on row 3. Good evening, guys.
Oh yeah.
How you doing?
So, how do you feel that your preparation has gone so far for the World Final? I'm going to come to Tom first.
Pretty terribly, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, the shell for this year for me has been a bit of a struggle. I just about got the car right towards the end of the final when last time we were there, so that's why I've sort of loaded it up and it's not come out of transport since.
And how about for you, Guy?
Believe it or not, pretty much the same as Tom. Really, we've had better years on shale, and we've probably had one or two worse. But it's I'd be happier if we had a bit more time at Bradford than what we've had. It's been very hit and miss. So yeah, see what happens on the night, I think.
Okay, I mean, do you think that I'm going to throw this in there? Do you think that both of you have learnt something from the crashes that you've had at Bradford the last couple of meetings? I'm going to
Probably
go to
not, to
Guy
be fair.
first.
I've not actually crashed at Bradford. I've just been slow. So that's all I can say about that. So.
And Tom, I think Ollie nearly took you out, didn't he? That last time you were there.
Yeah, I've been on top of the plate already. I've hit the plate straight, pretty much head on in the first meeting we went there. So yeah, I think all I've learned from there really is that if somebody hits you, you're going in regardless. So all you have to do is sort of hold your belts and pray.
So you're both on row 3. How do you think that's going to affect your chances for the final? I'm going to go to Guy first.
Um, it's tough to say because, in all honesty, I think when you actually look at a grid from a pure point of view, you'd have to look at the first two rows on form. But then at the end of the day, it's Bradford, and like Tom said, it seems if you get a little tap, not even which would be a big hit at another track, you're straight in a fence at Bradford. So I think it's going to be, to be honest, who survives the first corner and then probably the second as well. And if you're still going after them, then you're probably you're sort of in a race more. But I think it's all important to get around that first two bends really. So
Okay, what about you, Tom?
Yeah, I think for me, to be fair, I've won what I wanted to win this year. So all I'm going to do really is just take that first bend as it comes. We'll either be parked on top of the row in 1 and 2, or we'll be round and gone, I would have thought. I'm not. Yeah, it depends what happens on row 4. Really, and they're not two people who I've had a lot to to do with actually physically on track recently. So I don't know whether they're going to fire me in or not, but we'll soon find out.
So, how have you found the meetings so far at Bradford? I know jokingly, I was talking about that a couple of minutes ago, but how have you actually found the meetings themselves there? I'll go to Tom first, please.
Yeah, do you know what? When I've actually made it around in one piece, they've actually been pretty good. I mean, it is a quick track. It's difficult to drive, which, let's face it, probably probably you couldn't say for all the tracks we go to. But I think as a whole, it has been positive. There was a lot more grip last time we went there, which just improved it vastly. It meant that you could actually turn some laps and sort of get a feel for what you're actually racing on. Whereas the first time we went and it's a little bit sloppy, it was just like racing on ice really. But yeah, I think it will grow into it. And personally, I think it will be a massive step forward for the formula, especially like with the venue that it actually is at.
How about you, Guy?
pretty much the same really. I think in polite terms, a track could be a lot better, and I think even Steve Reese knows that himself deep down, the actual surface. But when you look at the facility from a sport point of view, I think she's in quite a privileged position to be having her world final before the F1s. because I think that's actually going to bring a lot of eyes on the formula to watch to see what happens, because probably what happens in that will sort of be a rehearsal for what the F1s are going to be in 2 weeks after that. So
Yeah.
I think there's probably going to be a lot more attention on this year's and probably what there has been in the last 4 or 5 years on the V8s, which from a sport point of view, it's great. But like Tom said, it is what it is. It's the same for everyone, isn't it? So you can't really do a lot more and just turn up and give it your best, really. So
Have you had to change the car setup at all in preparation for Bradford, Tom?
Yeah, to be fair, obviously after we went there the first time, I made it a lot sort of, without giving too much away, I put a lot more grip into the car and just tried to give it a lot more drive. But obviously when we got there, found out that the track was obviously, it created like a lot better surface all told anyway. Then obviously I couldn't get it into the corners, so then I had to take it all the way back again. So yeah, I'm neither here nor there with it now. Because it felt quick in the final last time we were there, I kind of feel like I just leave it alone. But
Yeah.
in the same breath, I feel like maybe if I do tighten up a little bit, because we are on first, well, from what I understand, first race, aren't we?
Yeah, I believe so. And Guy, what about you? Any changes in preparation for with the car?
really, it's just gearing from our point of view, because obviously we still run the older ZF gearbox, so we're having to do it on a diff. So we run 2 different diffs both times we've been, and to be honest, I'm still in a bit of a pickle as what's going to be best for the night, because the one we had for the first meeting, it seemed like it was over revving a bit, but then the track was so slick it would just lighten the tyres up. Whereas, like Tom said earlier, the second time we went, there was a lot more grip, and then probably that gearing would have actually been okay. But you'll go there in 2 weeks' time, and it'll probably be totally different again. So it's just really a lot of just what we run, and I think we go with our gut instinct. And then the car's generally good in general. It always is on shale. So obviously, if we get the staggers right and everything, and I'm quite confident in a car. It is just literally the gearing, and obviously me on a night as well. So
what are your thoughts on the grid that they've that you've got set up there? I'm going to go to Guy first on that.
I think the grid itself leaves a lot of imagination to them watching, because in my opinion, you've got the main 4 in a sport on the first 2 rows, and then Tom, who's obviously won a European this year next to me. Obviously, I'm decent-ish on shale. Then you've got Brian, who's long-time veteran behind, and Darren not so far behind him. And then you've got a lot of new people like Stephen Young and that, which have never been that high up the grid before. So it's going to be probably mean a lot more to them, and probably what it will some of us, because of the occasion. But I think that throws an element of unknown into it as well, because until again you get there, you don't know what anybody's going to do you? So
Yeah.
I mean, from Brian's point of view, he's been racing V8 since they first started, so his hunger to win it's probably going to be. Me and Tom are probably just going to be piled straight in first corner if he gets a chance, and the rest, everybody in front of us. But I think that's one of the interesting things of a world final. Really, form goes out the window to a degree, doesn't it? So
I think that's it. Anything can happen, can't it? And what about yourself, Tom? What's your thoughts on that grid?
I've sort of changed my approach to it this year. So previous years, I've studied the grid and come out with numerous possibilities of what's going to happen on the start, and it never works out. It never plans out the way you think it's going to. So to be fair, this year I've not really looked at it. I know where I'm starting. I know my brother's starting. Obviously, no guys inside of me because he's on the chat.
He's going to left turn me into a tyre first.
Yeah,
first
that's it. Park up first.
Great plan.
So yeah, that's what I've been trying to do this year. Just tried not to focus on it too much, because I think with these races you plan for them so much in your head, you can sort of psych yourself up before the start. So, which is it does leave something to be said about being first on. All right, the track conditions might not be the best, but at least you haven't got to sit there all night and contemplate what could be.
Yeah. So, who do you feel has the best chance of winning this year? I think Tom. Who would you say?
It's difficult to say, and nobody knows what's going to happen. I'd like to say that if my brother got away, then in all fairness, I don't think many people would catch him, and if they did, he'd probably stick him in the wall. So, in all fairness, I think my brother's got a great chance. Obviously, John Brown's been really quick, and again, if any of the front four get away, you're going to struggle to catch them. But you mean that's the same as any world final, I suppose.
And Guy, who do you think has got the best chance this year?
Tough one. Probably on outright pace from just basing it on the last two Bradfords. John Brown's been mightily quick. Like I don't know where when it dries out, he just seems to find a different gear. But then you've got Kev that's quick around there. You've obviously got Ollie that's never afraid to mix it up and quick as well. Steve Thompson hasn't seemed to, in my opinion, be right on pace compared to the other three, but he knows what he's doing, and come a night, he'll step it up a gear and he'll be there as well. But if it's not any of them, to be fair, I wouldn't even rule somebody like Luke Moore out or Darren Cottrell, especially if there's a big pile up first corner, because they're at the back just to see it unfold and sneak through. So
you think there might be, a chance there for some of the underdogs in that grid?
Like Tom would be the same as me. Every time people talk about this race and like on here and stuff, I just always think back to Stoke in 2015.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and Steve Bowman was third, 2 laps down, so it just shows how unpredictable a world final is, don't it? So
yeah.
So, I mean, on a personal note then for both of you, what would winning actually mean to you? I'm going to go to Tom first. If you actually won this year, what would that mean to you?
Yeah, obviously it mean a great deal to me. Obviously, I've seen from the other side of the garage, as it were, what it's like to win a world final. So after my brother won it not last year, but when my brother won it in 2019, then it meant so much to the family more than anything. And then there's obviously a lot of people know that we're pretty involved family in the sport. So yeah, just to do that for Dad and for everybody else really would be fantastic.
And Guy, if you got that gold roof, what would that mean to you?
It's hard to put into words really until you actually got there, but it's I think it'd be a big celebration on the night, one way or another. And again, for my mum and dad and everybody, it's pushed us all along through since I started the team, Shannon, everybody that's stuck by us. It's in a way something like a world final, and the sponsors, it's repaying them for the time and effort they put into you all them years. And the best way to thank them is obviously if you win a world final, isn't it? I'd imagine. So it's an important thing, and it's the main race of the year. And I don't care who anybody is. If they said they didn't want to win it, they'd be lying to you, wouldn't they? Even if you're right at the back and you're in your first year, their dream, obviously, if they come in V8s, is obviously to be a world champion, isn't it? So, or any formula. So they'd be lying if they said they wasn't interested.
So is that what you're saying to Tom then? Because I think earlier he said, "Oh, not that bothered. I got what I wanted this year."
Well, I think you've got to have that mentality, is because if it all goes, being polite, a load of poo on the first corner, you're just going to be disappointed, aren't you? But
yeah.
I think if you survive them first few laps, then in my opinion, whoever's there, if it was me and Tom at the front, it'd be game on. And if he put me over the fence to win it, then good luck to him, and vice versa, So it's
not that there's any rivalry there at all.
Well, you've got one chance, haven't you? And I've seen drivers who have followed people and probably thought that chance is going to come later on, and then that chance is gone, and then they just probably remember it for the next few years as a missed opportunity. So I think that's the best way you can describe it, really.
Well, I'm going to wish you both. I'm going to wish you both the very best of luck. Hope it all goes well for both of you, and thank you very much for talking with me this evening.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Cheers.